Most people think data center siting is about finding cheap land in the right market. It is not. Data center siting is the process of selecting land that can support power delivery, interconnection, network performance, and regulatory alignment on a usable timeline. The misconception is that siting is a real estate screening exercise. In reality, it is an infrastructure risk assessment that happens before design, before capital, and often before land control. The first myth is that proximity to population centers is the primary driver of site value. This assumption comes from traditional real estate logic, where demand density matters. In digital infrastructure, latency requirements, redundancy needs, and backbone access matter more than nearby population. A site can be far from users and still outperform a closer one if it sits on the right fiber routes and power corridors. The reality is that network topology often outweighs geography. The second myth is that zoning and entitlement are the hardest hurdles. This belief persists because zoning is visible and familiar. In practice, entitlement is often solvable with time and process. Power availability and interconnection feasibility are not. A fully entitled site without near-term power capacity is effectively stranded. The common assumption is that once zoning is secured, the rest is execution. The reality is that entitlement without infrastructure certainty does not unlock value. The third myth is that power proximity equals power availability. Being near a substation or transmission line does not mean capacity can be delivered. Capacity is allocated through planning processes, studies, and upgrade requirements that may take years to resolve. Developers often mistake physical closeness for functional readiness. The reality is that power is a system-level resource, not a site-level amenity, and access depends on timing and queue position as much as location. The fourth myth is that larger sites are always better. Scale feels safer because it suggests flexibility and future expansion. In digital infrastructure, scale without sequencing can be a liability. Smaller sites with earlier interconnection certainty and faster energization can outperform larger parcels that wait years for upgrades. The assumption is that size buys optionality. The reality is that timing buys relevance. The fifth myth is that capital can solve siting risk. Well-capitalized projects are assumed to move faster and clear obstacles more easily. Infrastructure does not respond to capital the way construction does. Utilities, grid operators, and network providers operate under regulatory and technical constraints that money alone cannot compress. The assumption is that funding accelerates outcomes. The reality is that infrastructure follows planning cycles and physical limits, not balance sheets. The consequence of believing these myths is not bad site selection in isolation. It is systemic misallocation of capital and time. Projects advance on land that looks right but cannot perform when needed. Expectations harden before constraints are understood. The mistake is not optimism about digital infrastructure growth. The mistake is applying real estate intuition to an infrastructure problem. Data center siting succeeds when land is chosen for what it can reliably connect to, not just what it can physically hold.